Well, folks, it's the budget. 2023 has really just been released. It was only a few minutes ago. Mr. Robinson finished his big delivery, and Vaughan and I had to pick it up. We haven't had the budget early like a lot of people. We've got it now. But look, let's just paint the picture of where we started from. Government spending's at 129 billion. Biggest ever in New Zealand. It's spending lots of money. Spending has increased by 61% since this government's been in power. 61%. Treasury says we need $250 billion spent on infrastructure. That's enormous. Households owe about $80,000 each household to cover us for our debt. Now, I'm told it's actually a lot more than that, but look, let's see a bit further. But the interest on that debt cost our government, cost us, you and me, $1 billion a week. The balance of payments is the worst it's ever been. Now, all this is very depressing stuff, and the budget's getting announced. So I'm looking as a businessman, how is it we're going to get generate more revenue, more income, so we can actually clear some of this debt up and get the place on its feet. So we've just heard the budget. Overall, there's not a lot of dynamic stuff. Boring as batshit, as my mate Vaughan would say, and it is, but however, it's kind of modest in my view. But look, let's get the man himself. Vaughan, tell us all about it.
Hey, Max, good to see you, bro. And yes, you stole the words right out of my mouth. Well, geez, mate, boring. But, like, at least it's a relief we don't have to listen to everybody that's talking about it the last 2 weeks and the dribbly words, such as productivity and resilience and sustainability. None of that poked down our throats now. We've actually got it. They've put it out there. And look, Max, I digress on that. I think when we get down to the brass tacks of today's budget, here are my key takeaways. Number one, they really made a big thing about it being a no-frills budget, and they weren't joking. And the back to basics was the support for young families, to address the cost of living crisis. So the early childhood care support of 20 hours a week. From March next year, that's a biggie. Free public transport for children under 13, that's a biggie. Scrapping the $5 prescription charge, that's a biggie. So for those young families that are struggling to make the household budget stretch, they've really targeted them in an election year. There's an extra $6 billion to be thrown at road and rail longer term spending. But as you said, Max, this is the biggest spend ever in the budget, and it has to be done. So that's the boring stuff. And actually, that's not stuff that goes in anyone's back pocket before the election. And I think people are really looking at this and going, what's going to change before the election? So time will tell, but it's clear that the government is trying to pussyfoot around doing anything that'll spike inflation up, because that's what will get them booted out. That if interest rates go up and, the inflation is a problem. But the big picture is, if we view New Zealand as a business and we talk revenue and expenses, Max, in a nutshell right now, New Zealand Limited, if it was a business, for the next 2 years, our revenues are falling short of our expenses by 20 billion a year. So we're borrowing, we're going off to the bank, and we're getting an extra 20 billion a year to cover our expenses. And so that's going to continue to 2026 before we're talking a surplus. So Max, and I'm ranting on a bit here, but everybody needs to know this. Our net debt is forecast of GDP to be 22% by 2026. To put that into context, 38 countries in OECD, the average for the 38, 70%. So we're certainly not a cop case economically. Australia's at 41% today. We're at 34% today. So for those of you out there that think we're going down the gurgler, we're not yet. But for that trend to reverse, we've got to stop this within the next 3 years. Otherwise, the Standard & Poor's of this world are going to be on our back about our credit rating, and then we'll be downgraded, and then we've got a big problem. We won't be able to get more money. So basically, regardless of who government is, that's the picture right now. Does that make sense, Max?
Yeah, look, there's some things I agree with and disagree with you there, Vaughan, because really I think we've got some big concerns with the fact that this country is no longer viable. If this was a business, we'd be looking at either we got to increase our productivity, increase our profit margins, and we've got to get some money in the bank. And unfortunately, the budget does nothing for that. There's no incentives in there. There's a little bit of investment into doing a bit more research. But look, there's not a lot in it for business. Hardly get mentioned, and hardly gets anything out of it. And all it is supporting the poor. And look, some of it needs to be done to try and get us on our feet again. But currently, right now, in terms of a business, we are looking in a very poor state, and you've said it yourself. We're not generating enough to even cover our outgoings. And look at the balance of payments going backwards at a huge rate. Our interest rates are going to go up because of that. Our Standard & Poor's rating right through the globe. That's concerning. That's really concerning. What's the long-term bet? Where's New Zealand going to come out of this? And look, I can't see it unless the business people themselves do it, because the government's not helping them at all. So I am critical of the government. I don't think they've done enough to try and help get some profitability, get our productivity up. There's nothing in this budget at all for that. But what there is in the budget, it's looking after infrastructure. $6 billion, when you heard me before say we need $250 billion, $6 billion is a start and needs substantive things. Let us get on the roads that drive on a road that won't break out, smash our cars to pieces. And with those sort of things, well, we can get productivity going again. Those sort of expenditures, childcare care centres, yes, I think that's really good to get some support in there, because our people can't send their kids to school, means they can't go to work themselves. Productivity is really, really killing it there. So hopefully that will help lift it, and that's a bit of expenditure that needed to be done. So there's some good and bad in this, but batshit boring. But again, it's critical to the future of New Zealand, and that's critical to you and me and our businesses, folks.
Yep. And Max, I'll just finish with this one, bro. And this will, I promise it to be my last word. The big but, I have this, and this is regardless of who is in power, whether it's a national-led government after October or whether Labor holds on. All of the initiatives that they're talking about require skilled labor, bodies, human capital. We can't get it now. So what's going to change in the next 2 to 3 years that are going to make a lot of these things happen? So if I was to be the skeptic about can this happen, my doubt is, yeah, we've got the money to spend to do the work. We don't have the people to do the work. And I think that's not going to be fixed within the next 2 to 3 years. So that's my red flag that I'm waving around right now, bro.
Look, Vaughan, and I do agree with you, because there was a promise in the budget there that there'd be 500 new nurses. That doesn't touch the size, folks. We need a lot more than that. Also, there will be some extra policemen coming in. Again, we need more than that, and for the youth crime alone. But good to talk to you, Vaughan. Thanks very much, and we look forward to this country getting its productivity up.